on, guys? It's your boy Luke here for our prize picks preview for round 1 of the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Here in this video, we're going to cover my top 5 props for the first round, and there's been quite a few changes on prize picks, especially for golf this week. First and foremost, a lot of the rules in the past where you had to take an over and under, you couldn't go outside of fantasy score, strokes, that kind of thing, has been completely taken off of the board. We also have a little bit of a variable payout structure now. Depending on how you structure your card, there will be different payouts based on flex and power plays. So that is something that we're also going to have to take into account. The card that we have here for this card is going to be one of the maximum return cards, one of the boosts that they've introduced to the market, where if you take 3 overs and 2 unders, you end up getting actually an even bigger card, a little bit more boost there, a little bit more value, which is something that I prefer. The only unfortunate part is it's kind of hard to tell how to structure your cards. It's hard to tell when you're getting knocked down in terms of your value. It's hard to tell when you're getting that extra boost. You kind of just got to tinker with your cards and try plugging in over and unders of different guys to see where you end up getting that extra value. Of course, last week we ended up being profitable. We ended up hitting really big on Friday, went 4 for 4. A bunch of our extra props and extra cards also hit that day. Hit for over $1,000 then. And then on Thursday, we ended up going 3 for 3 with a push, which also was a pretty big day. That was right around a $600 profit. And even though Saturday and Sunday, quite frankly, weren't the best days for us, we at least had that going for us. This time around, let's try and get off to a hot start, but keep it going and have an absolute heater. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the first round's picks. Okay guys, on the screen you can see the prize picks board for today, and to go ahead and show you what I'm talking about with the extra value, you can see that a flex play is actually going to pay out 12.5x value to us. Of course, 4 corrects still only pays out 2x, but that is a huge increase in return. Gives us an extra 2.5 units if we end up hitting. So definitely something that I liked that they changed. But one thing you guys can see here, if I change this Brooks Koepka prop to an over rather than an under, it reverts back to its normal structure. So there's rules in play here that they haven't necessarily been established yet, or at least they haven't told us what they are yet. So you're going to have to tinker around with your bets. Let's go ahead and start off with our greens in regulation props. We're here at TPC Scottsdale. If you guys haven't already seen my course breakdown video, which is on my channel as well, I'll make sure that there's a link in the description to that. These have the biggest greens on tour, or at least close to them. On average, 7,100 square foot, which makes them double the size of what we had at Pebble Beach. So last week, we had a fairway percentage in the high 60s. It's very well going to be in the 80s this week. That means that some of these elite iron players like Keegan Bradley, Answer, and Hovland, which you can see I'm taking the over on all their greens and regulation numbers, are going to be in a great circumstance. Most notably Keegan Bradley, who has over an 83% chance of hitting the over. He's one of the best iron players on tour. He's historically had a ton of success at TPC Scottsdale. He's coming in with pretty good recent form, somebody who I'm playing in the DFS format, and overall one of my favorite plays on the slate. All he has to do is go out there, hit right around 75% of fairways, and he'll hit the over there. He's towards the bottom of the board in terms of greens and regulation. In fact, he's at the lowest number on the board. Actually, take that back. They moved Snedeker down to 12. But he's tied with guys like an English, who's a pretty decent iron player. But guys like a Fowler, even Seamus Power 13, Horschel at 13, he should probably be at a higher number than them. He's a much better iron player. His true fair line's probably at 14 or even 13.5 greens regulation, which makes it by far my favorite play on the slate. Again, you're looking at right around an 84% success rate, which makes it an anchor on pretty much all of my cards. Next up, we're going to have Abraham Answer, who's in a very similar situation. He's also an excellent iron player, one of the more precise players on tour. And anytime we get him at a golf course with greens this large, he's going to hit pretty much every single one. His fair line is at 14 for me, 13.5 if I'm trying to be a little bit more consistent with my projections. But either way, gives him quite a bit of an edge over his 12.5 number. His success rate is at 79%, so not quite as high as Keegan Bradley. He has a little bit more volatility in his game. He's not nearly as consistent with the ball striking as somebody like a Keegan Bradley, but at the same time, one of the better shots gained approach players on tour, which is going to make him a very comfortable pick to hit the over. But make sure you guys are hitting these props early and often. I have a very good feeling that these are going to move by the time Wednesday night comes. So as soon as you see this video, I would try to hop on these because these numbers are pretty clearly off. Next up, we're going to be going to the Viktor Hovland over. He's at 13.5, which is towards the top of the board. You can see only Jon Rahm is ranked higher in terms of his projection. But Viktor Hovland, one of, if not the best iron players in the world. And even though his success at this golf course is really non-existent, he's missed his cut in his only trip out here, he's got a perfect course fit. He's one of the best iron players, as we've already said. His off the tee game also up there with the likes of a Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, even a Bryson DeChambeau. And it really comes down to the putting. But the beauty of us taking the greens and regulation number here is it doesn't matter how he's putting, right? If he's struggling on the greens, only gets to 2-3 under par, it would suck to take him in the fantasy score category, but at the same time, he's such a consistent ball striker. He's going to get on the greens. The scoring is going to depend on that putting, which is, of course, very inconsistent for Victor Hovland. So I like taking the over there. His success rate is right around 74%, so not nearly as high as where an Abraham Ancer or Keegan Bradley. Of course, a lot of that comes down to the fact that he's projected for a whole point higher, but because he's that good of a ball striker, not only does he get a boost with his approach play, as of course Abraham Ancer and Keegan Bradley do, but because he's such a prolific driver of the golf ball, never really puts himself in any trouble. He also hits a lot more greens as a result, right? He's hitting out of the fairway a lot more often, able to put spin on the golf ball, not dealing with sand traps, tough rough, anything as well. Next up, we are going to move to the unders. So like I said, to get the 12.5x return that I showed you guys earlier, you have to take 2 unders. And an under I feel really comfortable about is this under on the Patrick Cantlay 9 fairways hit. I have this at a 79.5% success rate for the under. You know, he's somebody who's extremely long off the tee, but here at TPC Scottsdale, we're dealing with relatively small fairways, plenty of room out there, right? Plenty of intermediate rough, that type of thing, plenty of bunkers as well. But the fairways are hard to hit, and particularly this week where we haven't had any rain in Scottsdale. It's in a desert, granted, for over a month. So it's extremely firm, extremely fast, as it usually is at this golf course. And historically, we see fairways here pretty damn hard to hit. The average is 56.7%. And for Cantlay to hit the over here, he's got to hit right around 60% of fairways. He's already somebody who's below the tour average in terms of his accuracy. The average here is already below the number that he has to get to. So for me, it's a no-brainer on the under. So I like that as an anchor for an under. Of course, you have to take 2 unders to get the boost here. I love the fact that you don't have to take an under for your card. So if you don't feel comfortable trying to fade someone, maybe just go with those first 3 picks, right? Put them together in a power play or something. You can be a little bit more aggressive if it's only a 3-pick card. Would not be against doing that. But that 12.5x carrot that they're dangling out there for us seems just amazing, right? I mean, I think 4 of the 5 of these are going to hit at the very least, and we have real potential to get to that 5 of 5 mark, particularly if this last prop can hit. And this prop certainly has a lot of potential to push, and that's the Brooks Koepka under 5 birdies or better. But at the same time, he's been in one of the worst stretches of form that we've seen for him. He switched the hair color, trying to mix things up last time out at Torrey Pines, tried to go out there and shake off all of that bad form, and it didn't work at all. He looked horrible. He was missing greens. The around the green play was great. He was putting himself in position, but he wasn't making any putts. So even though he is a great ball striker historically, he's won twice at this venue. The form does not look good, and I'm not willing to buy in on him. Even if he has his best stuff, for him to get to 6 birdies at this golf course, and it's a tough golf course, TPC Scottsdale, you can take it to 7 or 8 under par if you really have your best stuff, but it's also a golf course that exposes you if you're even slightly off. I mean, penal bunkers, really hard to get up and down here, so if you're missing greens, it's going to be an absolute crapshoot. So for somebody that's coming in with shaky form, that's the exact type of situation you want to fade. Those type of people tend to have really high scores here. So even if you wanted to go to the fantasy score, and of course, maybe take the over, you could do that. But again, we're trying to get to that 12.5x number. So the best way I found to attack this is with the birdies or better number. If it was at 4.5, I would not feel comfortable taking the under. But the fact that it's at 5 and we can push if he gets to that number makes a huge difference. So that's what I'll be taking there. Of course, if there's props that you want to mix in, just keep that 12.5x number that you like more, go ahead and do so, guys. There's an entire board. Numbers are going to change the whole way until Wednesday. One thing I'll say to note, though, if you're doing those picks, is with greens and regulation, you're going to be wanting to take a lot of overs. Like I said, nearly 7,000 square foot on average with these greens. Some of the easiest to hit on tour. If you hit these greens, sometimes it doesn't matter. You're still 3-putting because they have a ton of undulation. They are tiered at times. So even if you're hitting a part of the green, you're, let's say, 20, 30 feet away, you might literally have an impossible putt to make. You might even have a putt that's impossible to put within 4 or 5 feet, making a 3-putt almost an inevitable type of thing. So the thing is, with greens regulation, that doesn't matter, right? So that's really the defense of this golf course. But you're going to hit a ton of greens. So you can go to somebody like, let's say Xander Schauffele, who's an elite iron player, has played well here in the past for the over. Wouldn't hate going to a Scotty Scheffler or Webb Simpson. Sam Burns at 13 seems like a really solid number. And a lot of these guys at 12.5, Tony Finau really sticks out. Harris English really sticks out. Those are guys you could go to for the over and even do 5 of them, right? So if you were to take these unders out of here and just try to do 5 overs with this greens regulation number, let's go ahead and see what that would look like. They're only going to pay you 8x, right? So it is slightly lower than what you would normally see because you're all taking an over. If you add in the under, though, you can see it gets a little bit more normal, right? It goes to 10x. But again, where I think the sweet spot is when we can find 2 unders, you get to that 12.5x number. And as long as you can feel confident about them, like I do with the 2 that I pointed out earlier, it makes a lot of sense. But there's different ways to build lineups now, guys. It's pretty cool if you ask me. I'm glad that they made the change. I wish they let us know what the roles are with these lineups, like when you get the boost, when you don't. I've obviously figured out part of the mechanism, but I've mixed categories from time to time that has started to make things change. We need a clear blueprint for that. So until then, unfortunately, not going to have too much for you on that front. From the fairways front, you said it before, hard to hit fairways. They're firm and fast. They're relatively small here. So taking the under, if anything. Some of these guys towards the top are intriguing. I thought about taking the under on Louis Oosthuizen. Also thought about taking the under on Patrick. Well, we had Patrick Cantlay already. But also guys like a Matthew Fitzpatrick, even the Sam Burns. They're long players off the tee, but not necessarily very accurate. So that's how I would be attacking that board. Of course, with Fantasy Score, you're going to have to do a lot of digging into scoring averages, course fit, that type of thing. That's a more nuanced approach. So, of course, there's a lot of edges to be had there, but way too much detail to go over here in this video. And if you go here to the birdies or better number, a lot of the numbers are aggressive here. So I'd be taking a lot of unders, to be honest. I mean, this is a golf course where you can make 4 or 5 birdies pretty easily, but to get to that 6, 7 over for a lot of these elite tier guys, that's a lot to ask for. Maybe towards the bottom of the board, you take a shot on 1 or 2 guys on the over. But like I said, even to get to 4 or 5 birdies at this golf course, you've really got to have your stuff. So it's far from a for sure thing for any of these guys. But that's all I've got for this first round of the tournament. That's all for the first round preview, guys. Before you go on and get out of here, go ahead and let me know down in the comments what your favorite prop on the board is. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, highly recommend you guys go ahead and do so. That way you guys don't miss any of the Prize Picks content we have in the future, whether it's our content for all 3 rounds coming up for this event, or of course all of the golf tournaments going forward, or my regular course breakdowns here on the channel where I completely break down every venue the PGA Tour goes to, or our DFS content for DraftKings. I've got you guys covered from all of those fronts, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of that. Also, if you haven't already liked the video and you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you guys go ahead and smash the like button. That way, the video gets out there to more people, able to grow this channel, that type of thing. Really goes a long way with helping us grow. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Good luck with all of your props here for round 1, and let's get this cash.